Up there in the lead for a while. How'd your stint go?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, these are my first race laps I've turned at the Rolex, so that was exciting. You know, learning a lot every single lap and getting our accurate dialed in earlier in the weekend at the Roar was nice because I felt like that we were in a really good spot. Still learning, you know, a lot every single time I go around, and yeah, I mean the prototype traffic is interesting at times because you just never know. If you're going to be the lucky group of GT3 cars that get them on the oval, or the unlucky ones that get them in the infield. So at times it can be challenging, but you know, just every single lap we're trying to keep ourselves clean and out of trouble because we still have such a long time to go and anything can happen. Exactly.
Colin, you were in a good long stint there, very strong. I think I heard you say at the end that last stint, I think you went like 2.5 stints on one set of tires. So talk us through how your entire stint went.
Yeah, it went good, I would say, from my end. You know, for us, we're just trying to learn a lot about, you know, the tire dag, the different 2 compounds of tires we have from Michelin. So I think for us, it's a little bit more about learning for the end of the race than it is anything else. You know, obviously the Acura HPD car is fast for sure. We have a good performance. So yeah, we're just kind of trying to understand what we have for the end of the race. Really play with some of the tools we have inside the car. You know, see what they race like. Obviously, you know, no one's run a GTP car in a race before, so just trying to learn as much as we can, set ourselves up good for the end of the race. And yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, had some good battles out there for sure. GT traffic is wild like always. Yeah, I mean, you know, you get such a speed difference with the GTP cars over the GTDs in the tri-oval into the bus stop. So we get in these situations sometimes where you have no choice but to go somewhere with the momentum, and a lot of times you know, end up going 3 wide really tight, but luckily everyone's paying attention so far, so hopefully it stays that way.
All right, we'll open it up for questions here. Back there with Michael.
I also think I don't want to take action.
Hey, Mikey McGuire, Motorsport Week. Colin, you were very aggressive on your first stints in the car, making moves around LMP3 cars, and probably the move of the race so far, threading the needle between that P3 car and the wall. So what was the mindset behind that kind of aggression this early in a long race?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to what I said. You know, you get so much good momentum going, you've just got to go somewhere with it. You know, with all the cars being close in speed, you know, you can't kind of make a move and then jam the brakes on in the middle of the oval. And I think it's almost more risky sometimes to do that than it is just to kind of keep committing to what you're doing. I was definitely close to the wall for sure. You know, my NASCAR experience came in handy definitely when you're, you know, running close to the wall like that. But yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, I think it's one of those things in traffic here. You know, you've just got to be, smart. You got to make some good moves, but you got to be decisive. And I think the worst thing you can do is, you know, be indecisive and/or, you know, do something surprising. So, yeah, for me, it felt, you know, it didn't feel ultra risky. Certainly, I think it was Ranger in the car, in the L1 car, and he definitely made a big block down the back straightaway that I just let him have it. I think we'll bang doors someday down the road, I'm sure, but it wasn't going to be right now. So, yeah, for me, it was, you know, kind of business as usual.
Come over here to Richard James.
Colin, could you describe an outlap and how tricky and nerve-wracking it is on fresh tires?
Man, yeah, it's crazy. You know, it's so slippery in the GTP cars, and you know, once you get the tires switched on, you kind of feel like, oh, okay, I've made the stint without making a fool of myself. It's so easy to make a little bit of a mistake, a little bit of a slide, slip. Yeah, you know, I'm not exactly sure why it's the case. You know, certainly in the other classes I've driven with the Michelin tires, you know, the outlap is, you know, of course, cold tires, you got to bring them up. But for some reason on the GTP car, the way that it works or how we put the energy into the tire, man, it is slippery. It is super slippery. And so, you know, surviving those outlaps and again, learning how close to the edge we can get without going over, I think early in the race, hopefully pays some dividend towards the end of the race. And, you know, it's very different temperature too, right? If the ambient temperature is a little warmer, a little cooler, it's massively different in kind of what the warm-up process is like and how quick you can go. But yeah, it's, you know, it's a big part of our pre-race meetings and, you know, trying to decide what we do, how hard we push, how aggressive we can be. A lot of time to be made, also a lot of, you know, time to be lost / you know, going to the garage because you crash into something, time to be lost. So yeah, a lot of fun, I would say.
Ashton, Colin was talking about the closing rate that the GTP cars have on the GT cars. From your perspective, obviously you've had the roar and practice to get used to it, but any surprises out there or anything catch you off guard at any point?
No, not necessarily. I think honestly the P3 cars kind of catch us off guard a little bit sometimes because you can kind of tell the difference in the drivers that are in the P3 cars. Some of them are much more experienced and they behave like that. And then there's some who have a little bit less experience, and those are the ones that we're kind of like, okay, what are we going to do here? Because we're really about the same speed in a lot of the areas. So it can be challenging, but I mean, I feel like we have really great spotters and they're very clear when, there's a GTP car or P2 or P3, and we kind of gauge at that point what we should be doing at the next corner in preparation so that we don't also lose momentum, because we have been caught behind them before on their outlap, and it does look sketchy from our point of view. And we try to respect that, but at the same time, we also have momentum that we don't want to lose because we don't have 700 horsepower. So we want to make sure we respect their space, but also take care of our position. Thankfully, we haven't had any of those issues yet, but have seen some other cars have those, and we take advantage of the momentum.
Any other questions for either of these two? Way in the back. Behind you.
Way back, as far back as you can go.
Way back here. This is Melissa Thomas with Florida National News. This question is for both of you. I'd asked the team owners earlier, which is easier or more difficult to deal with in terms of endurance, whether it's the driver or the car. Obviously, they mentioned the car, but I wanted to hear from you as drivers. What were you able to do before the race began to prepare in terms of rest and endurance, and what you plan to do after?
Yeah, I guess after the race, I'm sleeping for sure. I don't know how much after you mean, but between stints, yeah, we're going to obviously, I think most of the teams here all probably have a physio of some sort. So, for us, it's about getting out, getting some food, getting, a protein shake, recovery shake, something like that. Getting back, those carbs and calories you burned. Get a little bit of, work with the physio, whatever's hurting. And then for me, I'm all about going back to sleep. I don't know, I've done this race. This is my 19th time, and people always seem surprised that you're able to sleep during the race. But for me, I'm like, man, I can't do anything from here right now. If I'm not in the car, what's going to happen is going to happen. I might as well rest, recover, and be ready to go when it comes back to my turn. So I think, I think just trying to learn how to switch that off, put your mind at ease, and just go to bed and get some rest. As much as rest as you can get just makes you better the next stint. So that's kind of my program.
Yeah, I mean, not far off, we do have our physio, and I actually have my nutritionist over here in the corner following me around, Faith, who does take care of me and basically keeps us.
She has a lot of bottles.
Yeah, she came
Wow.
prepared for this.
I brought one. I thought that was good.
I got out the car and came here, and she came prepared. So, I mean, the people like that are just so important, especially as athletes, for us to be successful. So, I feel like for me, as soon as I get out the car, I want to eat, I want to debrief. I feel like I want to get things off my chest and to let my engineer know what's going on. And then I'm like, turn the switch. I got to go rest and recover, get something to eat, and then get ready to get back into the car. But my teammate Danny, this is mine and Danny's first Rolex, and Danny's like, I'm staying awake the whole time. I'm like, no, you're not. We will make sure someone get him to sleep. So he was like, I'm just going to stay up here. And I'm like, no, you're not. So, for me, I like to rest and recover, but my teammates like to be on the stand the whole time. And he'll learn. I think at 4 o'clock in the morning, he'll realize probably should have taken a nap. But
He might just take a nap.
yeah, I'll bring a pillow to the pit stand. But for me, same as Colin, I like to make sure that we're rested and recovered and prepared.
Any other questions for them? Seeing none, we'll let you go.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Colin. Oh. Pretty close. Good. Daniel, bring you on up. And we'll roll right into our next driver. Co-driver of the number 57 Windward Racing Mercedes AMG GT3, Daniel Morad. Welcome. It's been an adventurous couple days for you, young man. You substituting for Luke Sauer in the car after his unfortunate incident. You guys brought the car up to the front quickly, and you kept her up there through your stint. Talk us through your stint.
Yeah, well,
Oops.
this is off. You learn how to work a mic. You can drive a car, but not a mic. There we go. Hello. Yeah, well, it's great to be here in front of all you guys. I'm just still riding that wave. And there's adrenaline since yesterday, and obviously here for the GT4 race for the Michelin Pilot Challenge and getting the call up. It's unfortunate. I mean, I have such mixed emotions because I would rather not be driving if it was for, to have Lucas in better health. But thankfully, he hurt himself for sure, but he underwent surgery and was successful, and he should be making a recovery. So I know there hasn't been much news about that, but we've been in contact with him, and he's in good spirits. So. It's nice to be here. Nice to drive for Windward. It's my first weekend with Windward Racing, and like I mentioned, I was supposed to drive the Michelin Pilot Challenge, and kind of just at the right place at the right time, under the wrong circumstances. But somebody had to step up, and I'm happy they chose me and trusted me to do the job with 0 laps of practice jumping into the race.
And how did you feel your stint went, and how was the car?
I mean, I've raced IMSA in the past. I've been driving with another Mercedes AMG team, and straight away, I mean, really comfortable with the car. It was a bit tricky to adapt back from GT4 to GT3, but thankfully the AMG platform is very similar, and the driving style is quite similar. So it didn't take that long, and the balance of the car, I mean, the mechanics, we have to just mention, they worked all night until 4 a.m. to get the car ready with the spare chassis that was brought in from Houston. And also a shout out to the Iron Lynx team for helping quite a bit last night to help the guys get ready. So just really cool, the paddock, such a family environment, and that's, I think, quite a bit different to the European style of racing, where everyone's a little bit more out for themselves, whereas in the IMSA paddock it's really nice. Everyone's helping each other, and it's just one big family.
Was there much uncertainty when you guys started the race? Because obviously you didn't know what you really had in there. I mean, this is a winning car from last year, the chassis, but you don't know what's going to perform once it gets out there. So how did you guys approach starting the race with that in mind?
Yeah, I mean, there were so many question marks. We weren't granted the hardship laps. So brand new car assembled overnight, like I mentioned, and we were just crossing our fingers and hoping everything was going to run smoothly. But the guys spent a little extra time just to make sure everything was buttoned up, and just ensuring that we don't have, I mean, it's a long race and anything can happen, but for now it seems okay. The car's driving well, balance is good. I don't have any prior knowledge, so the guys will have more insight on that. But for me, and I think in terms of setup, and the engineering team has worked really hard at Windward Racing and if you've been following the broadcast, you can see the car squirming around quite a bit on traction. So yeah, so far so good, and I just enjoyed my first stint. It was fun out there.
All right, any other questions? Go to John Orevix, and we'll come back over here. She's coming up on your right.
Thanks. With the crash and the thrash to build the car up and everything, what was the mood in the team before the start? Did you still think you had a chance, coming from the back to contend for the win?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a race-winning chassis. It's not anything that we were concerned about. The big thing was just the guys working so hard and overnight, right? Just the fatigue. I'm sure they're going to be quite tired tonight and going to the morning, but I think all of us, even the drivers, we've been there late doing the sponsorship functions, and it's just there's a lot on our mind with just everything. It's a little emotional, there's a lot going on, right? So once the green flag came out, I mean, we just started focusing on the job at hand, and it'd be a shame to waste all the hard work that the guys have put in. But yeah, so far everyone's in high spirits, and especially hearing some news from good care. He has the best doctors and surgeons on the continent working on him and with him, so it makes us happy to hear that.
All right, come over to Daily Sports Car.
I'm sure it also must have brought the morale up seeing Russell drive the car from the back of the field to into contending position in the first day. How awesome was that to watch?
I think, touching on the morale of the team, that was probably the moment where you could just see the grins on everyone's face under the tent. Seeing the car go just monster through the field, just cemented the hard work and yeah, and you know, Russell did a great job. He kept the car clean. Our number one priority is just keep the car clean because it's a 24-hour race, and to be there in the first few hours, it's important to be there in the last few. So that's our focus going forward, and just taking 0 risks.
Seeing no more questions, we'll let you go. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. I'm gonna go eat now. No questions about nutrition? What do you guys? Wow. Huh? Our next guest. How are you?
See you, mate. Good.
And our next guest is Richard Westbrook, co-driver of the number 02 Cadillac Racing Cadillac LMDH. Talk us through your time out on track today.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's lots of different tire strategies going on right now. We're trying to be quite frugal with our, how much we put on new tires. So we just did almost a triple there on one set, trying to give us, because it's a different rule this year with the tire allocation. So quite surprised how the other cars are throwing tires at it right now, but that could change in the night, but you definitely want plenty of tires for the last 3 or 4 hours. So we're taking a bit of pain now, and we're hoping to make that time back up, come tomorrow when we've got lots of new sets of tires.
And your co-driver Alex was in there saying he thought you guys might have an advantage in the double and triple sending. Do you
Yeah,
feel
we
that?
definitely set the car up that way. We're good over a double, and I think we're pretty good over a triple then as well. But yeah, I mean, there's a long way to go. I just can't believe all these cars are still running. It's just a testament to the manufacturers and all the hard work that's got into it. I mean, it's a proper race out there, and it looks like it's just going to keep going. And I hope it does.
Questions for Richard?
Good.
Seeing none, I think you're done, sir.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Cheers.
I wanted to let you eat.
Yeah.